Hi ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'm kind of reluctantly making this video today, but a few things have happened, and those of you who are paying attention to the news and to what's going on, none of this will be a surprise. And that's really where I suppose I'm at a disadvantage, and where I'm also not really giving you anything new. Usually I'm not. I'm usually just commenting on the situations that I see. There have been a few exceptions, but by and large, I've been more of a commentator than a revealer of new information. And what I'd like to talk about today is, well, you know, we're seeing some things happen. Remember this situation that happened at Dryas Air Force Base with the nuke transfer, and Dryas denied it, and then we had the admiral who was fired, and now we've had the lieutenant general over the Air Force program. The admiral was fired supposedly for a gambling problem, and then the charges were never completed. But that was the excuse apparently given to the people through the media. And now we have the lieutenant general in the Air Force over their entire nuke missile program that was basically fired today, supposedly because he has, let's see, I gotta say this just right. His name is General Michael Carey. And he was fired for loss of trust by the White House. Interesting. Now, if you remember, Alex Jones broke this entire story about this nuke transfer, and that very same day that he broke it, of course, Lindsey Graham said that South Carolina was in danger of a nuke attack because of the refusal by the United States people to want to invade Syria. And you know, I thought that was interesting, but then now, you know, a month later, we're seeing all this other information come out. In fact, Alex may have prevented something from happening there, and that's happened to a lot of these things with the alternative media, that they've gotten wind of these things. But then you get people in the mainstream media and those who support the government who, you know, really badmouth and tear people apart, that are just trying to save the republic. You know, you may remember Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer. He was actually told to change aspects of his book that he wrote, and has also been told not to talk publicly. Now, he's actually gone against that on a number of occasions, but at a cost to his reputation. They've begun attacking him relentlessly, and not necessarily with anything of any realistic background to it. It's spin. You know, you can basically take anything and you can spin it to make it sound good, or you can spin it to make it sound bad. And of course, the propagandists in government and those that government hire to go after whistleblowers and people who are trying to fix things, they're going to spin it to the bad side. So that's what's happened now, I think, to this General Michael Carey in the Air Force, that he's loss of trust to the White House. Well, I think something is amiss here, and I think Alex Jones and Anthony Gucciardi definitely have their fingers on something here that indicates that, yes, there was a false flag coming involving a nuclear weapon, and their willingness and the informants that they've had that have given them this information may have actually stopped it, at least for now. I'm not saying it is stopped, but there's an awful lot happening. Obamacare is failing. Is it failing on purpose because that's what they want? Is the fine that's imposed if you don't sign up the actual, I think it's called the actual gaffe? It's really the fine that they're after. You know, getting into your bank account, getting your personal information. I'm not sure. All I know is it's a bad deal, and I've said I won't sign up for it, and I would encourage, you know, no one to sign up for it, because you are basically handing over to the government any Fifth Amendment rights, waiving your Fifth Amendment rights that you may have had. Plus, they can, you know, the entire system. The programmers have done a terrible job, from what I understand. I'm not a programmer, so I don't know for sure, but just from what I've heard, it sounds like that the guys who are criticizing this system really know what they're talking about. So anyway, getting back to these people who are trying to set the government on the right course, and as a result are having their reputations attacked unjustly, spinning information for the purposes of propaganda to discredit these people. This General Kerry being an example. I have to say a couple of things, and I'm going to quote two scriptures here, because this really is the time of the dividing of the wheat and the tares, and it's painful. It's absolutely painful to see how people are falling on one side of this line or the other. So there are two scriptures that I think are important to this whole thing, and actually there are many, but two that have impacted me personally, and I'm sure others. And the first is Micah 7:6. No, I'm not going to quote it to you. I want you to go read it. Micah, M-I-C-A-H, chapter 7, verse 6. And not to say that I'm anything, I'm not out here to give myself any honor, but there are people that watch things like Alex Jones, like Michael Savage, yes, even Rush Limbaugh. I know you folks out there have some real problems with those people, and I have certain problems with them too. But the fact is that a lot of them are trying to do a job. Rush Limbaugh may be a Republican pundit, I guess, like they can't do anything wrong. But regardless, you can still get good information there. C. Green, James Corbett, anyway, any number of people, and you all know who they are, or you should be able to find out in the alternative media. We're all doing this same thing, and it basically falls on, he who is warned must warn his neighbor. So the other quote I'd like to leave you with is in the New Testament. Micah, of course, is in the Old Testament. It's Mark chapter 6, verse 4. And no, I won't read that either. I will just say this, that if you succumb to the propaganda, and look at it this way, if you're in court, well, maybe some of you haven't been to court, so let's make it a little bit more close hold. Let's talk about girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, and wives. When you play the game with each other, when you are going down the same path, whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter, it's the point of the story. You talk good about each other for the most part, right? Okay. But when there's a split, when one decides that it's not in their best interest to be there, okay, what often happens? They have to badmouth, they have to give bad information about the other person. They switch. Never mind that they were together for 20 years. And that all of that doesn't matter, or what happened during that 20 years. Or they may add information that wasn't there to make somebody look bad, or they take away from it, or they just ignore it. Either way, the desire is to defame them. That happens at the governmental level as well. And General Kerry is experiencing it right now, General Ham, General Boynton, Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer, Captain Histelow, Lieutenant Lawrence, the families of SEAL Team 6. The government and its agents will basically commit sins of omission, not give all the information, and spin the information they do have for their own purposes, or they will outright attack them. And that's what we're seeing, is a combination of all of those. So what I would say is this, that you need to look at the entire picture. If you're not schooled in propaganda, if you don't understand how governments can lie and take advantage of situations, and merely by omitting information, that they can do it just as well by that, then you don't have a right to comment on what you think's happening. Well, you might have a right to it, but you certainly don't have a right to make a judgment based upon it. Okay? There are good men and women out there who are risking their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honors, their reputations their families, everything they have to try to bring the truth out. And the state will come after them with a vengeance, since the leaders of this state are corrupt. Obamacare is going to prove that beyond anything that you've ever seen in the past. I was thinking the IRS would, but you know they're looped in with this Obamacare thing too. But this is really evil. Get you to unwittingly, I should say, sign away your Fifth Amendment rights. Wow. Just like anything else when you get a driver's license or whatever. But this is on a scale we haven't seen before. So, you know, there will be those, and I'll speak scripturally now too. When the true followers of God, however you view that, but I'm going to say again, liberty and love and virtue, liberty, life, and love and virtue. When those people stand up for what's right, the evil side is going to attack them. And if you go along with that, and negate everything that they say merely because it fits your agenda, it'll come back on you. Look, hard times are coming. You need good friends. The government's not going to be a good friend. Back on this scriptural thing, you know, the true followers of God will be persecuted, hunted down. They will have false witnesses against them, propaganda, and as we've seen in Syria, actually killed and mutilated. Here in the United States, you know, just a week ago, 2 weeks ago during the shutdown, military Christian chaplains were told that they cannot perform any services, nor the contract people that would do that. It's all shut down, not even voluntarily. Christians have been called, along with constitutionalists, Second Amendment advocates, veterans, returning veterans, etc., have been labeled as terrorists by the government. And you're going to believe when the government says something bad about these people? Shame on you. Shame on you. Because these people are calling you to repentance, telling you that the government's evil, that killing innocent people here and abroad is evil, that denying liberty here and abroad is evil, that abortion is evil, that homosexuality is at least not good for you, which, you know, I certainly don't back up in any way, shape, or form. But in order to bolster your own position on those things, which are against the scriptures, at least the Judeo-Christian tradition, you know, they're not old things, okay? They're not has-beens, okay? What was good for our forefathers in regards to morality is still good today. And it's you who are out of line if you don't accept the fact that sin and wrongdoing in any form, it might be politically correct to do things, it might be trendy, but that doesn't make it right. Supporting a government that denies, here's a question for you, or here's an answer for you. A lot of people say, well, how can you be for individual liberty and be against abortions for women and their babies and homosexuality? How can you be against those? Because I define it by what? Life, liberty, in virtue. And virtue is not a question. It's not a question mark. It's not an unknown. Morality is not an unknown. Your consciousness, if you don't know what's right or wrong, you've got a problem. Okay? And I will just say it. I know what's right or wrong in those areas. And you might say, well, wow, you sure think highly of yourself. You know what? I think highly of the principles that I base myself upon. Yes, I do. Am I a fearmongerer? Well, he who is warned, let him warn his neighbor. Am I negative? Same answer. He who is warned, let him warn his neighbor. Is it doing any good? As I said back in July when I washed my feet, and a couple of videos since then, I don't think I'm waking anybody up anymore. I really don't. I think the wheat and the tares are here, and they're going to be what they are. That which is filthy will be filthy still. But I am leaving you without any excuse. You see that? I'm washing myself of the blood and sins of your generation, of this generation, of this world. Because I'm telling you, and all of those like me are telling you as well. So you can say nasty things to us if you want, and I'm sure that this video will cause a lot more of that. But you know what? I don't care. It's like I said, I'm not here for a popularity contest. I can't even convince my family, all of them, of the seriousness of this situation, and even those who take it seriously want to buy into a lot of the statist government propaganda because it fits their political correctness or their trends or just their prejudices. Fine. Micah 7:6 and Mark 6:4. And those who do stand for the truth will be hunted down, defamed, persecuted, killed. Here as well, you know, like I said, the Christian chaplains have been told they can't do it. And Christians are considered terrorists. But you don't have to be labeled a Christian by name. If it's in your heart, if you don't even call yourself a Christian, you're a good person and you believe in, you know, what's right, standing up for what's right, standing up for life, liberty, you know, virtue, you'll be labeled as a Christian just by your actions, because the evil side knows that by their fruits you know them, just like we should know that. Okay, I was going to bring up some other things, but I think that's, you know, as far, somebody asked me why didn't I talk about Benghazi a while back. Well, actually I did. That video was taken down, and frankly I didn't feel like putting it back up. But I have mentioned it several times since then. I was one of the first ones that said that there were in fact American weapons given to these rebels from Libya to Syria, and that they were U.S. weapons, not just Russian manpads, but U.S. Stinger missiles. That doesn't matter. Remember, because I was also saying these things are going to come into the country, maybe at the shutdown of Coast Guard District 7 they slipped in, you know, maybe a nuke was planted, I didn't know, but I have been talking about those Stinger missiles for a long time. And those of you who followed my channel know that. Fukushima, that's never gone away. It's been getting worse, and you know they've been trying to hide it and saying everything's okay. Well, now of course Japan and TEPCO have asked for international help. Well, it may be too little, too late. So all of you who you know think that that's another scare tactic, that you know that's fear mongering, okay, have it your way. They have another explosion over there, like they did that MOX 4 plutonium reactor when it exploded. They have another one of those. I suggest you get some iodine real quick. Okay, I think that's all I'll cover today. I'm not in the best of moods. You know, this is actual war. It is. You know, I've heard Alex say that, and I know it. I understand. You know. Shaping the battle space and all that. We are, in fact, in the beginning stages of a very serious war. It's at the propaganda level now, but it's real nonetheless. And my request to all of you to prepare to get your food and your water, ammunition, guns. You know, I said, hold your fire. Remember I told you about that? Hold your fire, it's not time. And I told you met tea. Gentlemen, do your met tea. Well, it's time to lock and load. Not fire yet, but it's time to lock and load. I'm hoping that things iron out here in the next little while, but as I said before, the powers that be cannot let the course that we're upon now change, and they will use force, intimidation, fear, and major horrible scenarios to ensure that they stay in power. So lock and load, make sure you have your food, your water, you know, get away from the cities if you can, if you have an ability to do that. Protect yourselves. And lock and load just means self-defense with others, you know. So it's not just met tea and hold your fire anymore, it's get ready. Should I say that? Am I advocating a violent overthrow of the U.S. government? No. I'm talking about defense against tyranny. I would that our prayers to God would answer this and that He would step in and do our battles for us. And He said so much that He'll do that. But I don't think that completely relieves us of a responsibility to do as much as we can in the meantime, and I've said that before. So as Stuart Rhodes has said, get these civil preservation teams underway, modeled on the A-Team, the Special Forces A-Team. Great idea. You don't need to wait for him to do that. You can do it yourselves. That's the idea. And get ready to defend yourselves. Because look what happened to the national parks this last week. I just took a drive this weekend with a friend. They don't have money, they say, to keep the parks open. Well, this is an in-your-face thing, This is to get everybody bothered down at the lowest level and to get you ready for intimidation and martial law. Because what they're doing in these national parks and at these monuments and things is a form of martial law. They have more rangers out there, armed rangers and cops and security officers, than they do when the places are open. It's not a money issue. It's a control. It's a mind control. It's a slavery issue. It's an issue of the government can't do anything wrong. Infallibility, which is a total fairy tale. Wow, I'm rambling on. Is it going to happen tomorrow? Are we going to have to, defend ourselves tomorrow? Well, in a way, yes. I would do it by non-compliance at first, like not signing up for Obamacare, not dealing with the IRS, whatever. Not going along with the TSA, not going along with checkpoints, whatever it is you can do. Going in and telling your city council or your county, board or whatever that, what they're asking for is illegitimate. This Agenda 21 business, whatever, whatever you can, pick your battles, but pick one at least. And don't sit in your house and try to do all these things and then complain about people who are out there trying to do something to the best of their ability. And yeah, it might not be the best thing, but you sitting on your ass and telling everybody else that you're prepared and but you're not going to do anything else, that's wrong. You should at least be getting others helping them to get prepared, at least at that. Did I say just get out of the way? Did I say that? Yes. We can't do much, just get out of the way. But you are not in a position, if you just sit in your home getting prepared, trying to get out of the way, to actually criticize those who are trying to do something, who may have a God-given responsibility to try to say something. Or will you take the side of the enemy? A lot of you do that because you have a prejudice, or you have a preconceived notion, or you have, and I'm going to say it, sins that you want to cover. And what do? You accuse others of trying to do that, and that's not the way to handle it. The way to handle it is, why don't you pull out that Bible or whatever spiritual system you have and study it a little bit before you start making accusations and believing that what you believe in is the absolute truth. At least wait till you get some experience. I'm 60 years old. Okay? Got a little experience. Well, I'd love to give a dissertation on a lot of these things, but you either have it in your heart or you don't. You either have God's law written in your heart and in your mind, or you do not. And I'm not going to make much of a difference in that, not at this stage of things. Those lines, as I've said, have already been drawn. The wheat and the tares growing together. And it pains me to see who's ended up on each side. It pains me. Well, those who are on the good side, great. I'm just surprised at who's ended up on the tare side. But